بلى من كسب سيئة وأحاطت به خطيئته فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون وإذ أخذنا ميثاق بني إسرائيل لا تعبدون إلا الله وبالوالدين إحسانا وبالوالدين إحسانا وذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وقولوا للناس حسنا وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة ثم توليتم إلا قليلا منكم وأنتم معرضون صدق الله العظيم. Alright, so after having recited the page, let us go to our tajweed notes, and let me just make it big. There we go. I'm going to bring out my pen as well and make this big. Alright, just a quick review of the topics we have already um, covered. So the first one was al-qalqala, and then the heavy and light letters, حروف التفخيم and tarqiq, then lam in the exalted name of Allah, that is lamul jalala, ruling of ra letter being heavy or light. I will spend I think 2 sessions on it. Then rules of noon, sakina and tanween, and this is where we are. We did izhar halaqi, and then we did iqlab and idgham last week, and inshallah today we will do ikhfa haqiqi inshallah, or just ikhfa. So let us go to this page, and I'm going to make this big again. Here we go. Maybe a bit too big. Okay. Fourth, the fourth point, or the sub point under the rules of noon, sakin and tanween, is ikhfa haqiqi, or just also called ikhfa as well. So ikhfa actually means to hide. Okay. It is the pronunciation of noon sakina or tanween in a way so that the sound is between idgham and izhar. Okay. What does that mean? So let us go further. Letters of ikhfa. So any letter other than the letters of izhar, iqlab, and idgham letters. So what are they? Let us quickly look at them. So izhar letters are the throat letters. So what are they? They are kha, Sod, sorry, I'm going on حروف التفخيم. Hamza, Ha, Ain, Ha, and Ghain, Kha. These six letters are throat letters, and you can also call them letters when izhar is going to happen. When any one of these letters follow noon, sakin or tanween, we make what is izhar or izhar halaqi. That is, we pronounce the noon sound clear and short. We do not stretch the nasal sound. Okay. Iqlab. Iqlab happens when ba, letter ba, follows noon sakin or tanween. Okay, so just here. Um, Perhaps like this here. Okay, and idgham letters are again six. They are yarmalun, ya, ra, mim, lam, wow, noon. So whenever any one of these six letters follows noon sakin or tanween, we have what is called idgham or assimilation, and the letter um, the noon or this there is an assimilation that happens over there. We will look at the examples we have already looked, but inshallah when we will go identify the we will identify all of these. Now what are the letters remaining? So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 and 13. So there are 13 letters we have covered. So the rest of the letters, which includes all of these like Sin, Sheen, okay, Fa, what else? Zal, Za, okay, um, and it's so many. All the rest of the letters, other than these, okay, like for example, Sod, Dod, okay, and Tha. You can keep on going. So whenever these letters they follow noon sakin or tanween, then we have ikhfa. Okay, so what is ikhfa and how do we pronounce it? So the way of pronunciation of ikhfa is that if any letter other than the letters of idhar, iqlab or idgham letters follow the noon sakin or tanween, the reader should hide the noon sakin or tanween, and the reader is always also required to make gunna for 2 beats, meaning the nasal sound should be stretched for 2 beats. Okay, so now what does it mean here? Hiding the noon, what does that mean? Okay, let us look at some of these examples. I'm going to take this away and I'm going to move this paper up. Okay, so the gunna for ikhfa, heavy gunna and light gunna, and I'm going to explain that why that happens. Okay, heavy gunna happens when there are rounded letters or the mufakham letters that follow the noon sakin or tanween, such as kha, sa, da, ta, ta, ghain, qaf, dha. These are all khussa, daltin, qid. These are the mufakham letters, hurufut tafkhim, rounded letters. Whenever they follow noon sakin or tanween, then the type of gunna that is going to happen is going to be heavy, because gunna is being dictated or the stretched out and is dictated by the letter that is coming after the noon sakin or tanween, not before. So if one of these rounded mufakham letters follows the noon sakin or tanween, then the type of gunna is going to be heavy, rounded. Okay, all right, let's look at these examples now. examples of that is going to be, oops, there you go. So here's your noon sakin in this word. Here's your noon sakin, okay, followed by a dha. So now as soon as you hit a noon sakin or tanween, you have to ask about the letter that comes right after. Is it a throat? So let us see. Throat. Is it a throat letter? Is it a Yarmalun letter? Let's say, okay, I'm just going to write Yarmalun. Is it a Yarmalun letter or is it a Ba? So if we look at this particular, the first situation, so we will see that the letter following the noon sakin in this case is a ask. Is it a throat letter? No. Is it a Yarmalun letter? Is it one of the Ya, Ra, Mim, Lam, Wa, Noon? It is not. Is it a Ba? No. So therefore, there's going to be Ikhfa here. What is Ikhfa? Now, how are we going to do this? What we are going to do is we are going to hide the noon. So what is the process of hiding the noon? What does it mean, hiding the noon? So for this, I'm going to go to this picture, the picture of the mouth. Okay, so let me go here. Okay, the mouth pictures here, and let us look at noon. So the noon has actually two components. Okay, here's your noon. So when we pronounce the noon, we are touching the tip of the tongue at the end of the dome. Where's the dome? The dome that inside our mouth. This is the dome. Here's the dome. That's the dome inside. So where the dome is ending, okay, that's where the gums of the top teeth, front top teeth, that's where they start, the gums here. So the tip of the tongue is going to touch over there, and we'll say noon. Now this is component number one, the tip of the tongue touching at that position, at this position. This is component number one in the pronunciation of letter noon. And the second component of the pronunciation of noon is here. Look at this. Here's your nasal cavity. Just put it up a bit. Oops. Here we go. So look at this nasal cavity here. This one here. This is nasal cavity, nose. Okay, so when the air is coming out from your windpipe here, from your throat, from your lungs, is coming out, it will basically go through any passage that is available. It comes over here, and then it finds that this gate is blocked. This path is blocked for the air to travel out. Then it goes the other route, and it keeps on going and keeps on going and says, it finds an opening and it comes out of the nostrils. Okay, so noon, the sound of the noon is a combination of um, these two components. Component one, tip of the tongue touching the end of the dome, and component number two, the nasal cavity being open. So I've said this before as well, that this touching this area here, also there is an English letter D, D. So if the nasal cavity is actually closed, if this is like usually there's sinuses and all of that, sometimes they close the nasal cavity, then the air has no place to come out. See, no place, cannot go here, it cannot go through there. So what's going to happen, you will end up with a D sound. So noon, N is going to become D sound. So noon is going to become dood because the nasal cavity is closed. It's the nasal cavity that is responsible for gunna or the nasal sound. Okay, that's why it's called the nasal sound. And hiding the noon means you do not do this. The only thing that you do, hiding the noon, means that this component number one of the tip of the the tip of the tongue touching the beginning of the dome, let's say, however you're looking at it. If you're looking from this way, then it will be the end of the dome, and if you're looking this way, then it will be the beginning of the dome. But anyways, just where the gums of the upper front teeth, where they start, in that area, n. So this is component number one. Component number two, nasal cavity being opened. Nasal cavity being opened. This is important. Nasal cavity being opened. So now when you do ikhfa, they're saying hide the noon, meaning don't do this part. This part we don't do, but we leave the nose open. Now they also spoke about heavy and light gunna, or heavy or light nasal sound. How do you achieve that? Okay, let us go back now. Remember this diagram. So this is where you touch and nasal cavity needs to be opened. All right, now let us go to our tajweed notes and back to Ikhfa Haqiqi, and let me make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so heavy gunna or light gunna, this is very important to understand because a lot of people, they mix these two up and it just sounds too confusing. Okay, how do you make heavy or light? Let's do these examples. Okay, whenever there is a rounded letter, so look at this first example here. Let me bring this a little bit up. Okay, let's look at the first example here. Okay, so you have, first of all, noon sakin right here. You have a noon sakin, and then the letter that is following the noon sakin is a va, and va is a tongue letter, number one, and number two, it is one of the huruf tafkhim, or a rounded letter, va. What is the makhraj of va? Tip of the tongue touching the upper front teeth and stuck out slightly, va. But the back of the tongue goes up like this, and here's your bottom teeth and your top teeth up there. Okay, so now because the letter right after noon sakin is a ikhfa letter, meaning it is non-throat, non-yarmalun, non-ba, and it is a rounded letter. So this letter here, va, being rounded, is going to dictate to the nasal sound here. Okay, the gunna nasal sound. Okay, same thing. Gunna is a nasal sound. So this va being rounded, heavy, full mouth is going to dictate the nasal sound of this noon sakin to be rounded as well. Okay. Now, I read in another tajweed book, not this one, that, and which actually is also, I think they probably talk about it slightly after. What you need to do is basically you take that your tongue from the makhraj of the letter where you were before the noon sakin or tanween. You take your tongue to the makhraj of the letter that comes right after, due to which the ikhfa is happening. You go to the makhraj of dha, okay, and then let's see the mouth picture again now. um, you know what I'm going to do, I'm going to um, no, I don't want to overload. Okay, let's go this way again, we'll come back to that. Okay, mouth pictures. Okay, so let us now go to letter dha. Dha, here is your letter dha. So you are going from, what was the first the letter? Yanzuru, right? So it was going from ya to dha with a noon sakin in between. So where is the ya? Let us look at ya. Jimshina should be, I think, here. Let me come out and then go back in. Here you go. This is where your ya. So ya is here. So you do a ya fatha, ya, and then you go straight from this formation. You take the tongue from this formation to uh, this formation. Okay, like as if you're saying yow, rather than saying yow. You see, you don't do the nasal sound yet. You go straight to dha, yow, but don't do the dha makhraj. Just take the tongue to the dha makhraj, which is this one. If this one, let's make it big here. Here, this one. This is a dha, dha letter, dha. Okay. So you are going from ya to dha, yaw. So you are here. Let me write it here. Oops. Ya, noon, sakin, dha, and then ra. Here's your noon sakin, and here's a fatha, noon sakin, dha, dhamma, ra, dhamma. Okay. So the process is, I'm trying to explain now what is hiding of the noon, and number one, and what is uh, making the rounding or making heavy or light of the nasal sound. So step number one, what we will do, we will go from ya to the makhraj of dha. So ya that I showed you before, again, ya would be here. Whoops, there you go. This is ya. From this formation of your tongue, okay, ya, where the air is flowing out like this. Yeah. So you go ya, and then you go to dha makhraj, this one here, this one, dha. You go to it without doing the dha with the fatha, dha with the dhamma. Yeah, yaw, and then while keeping your tongue at this, you do the nasal sound. Now, basically, you are nasalizing the letter dha. So your tongue is at or near the makhraj of dha, okay, and what you have done is you have effectively opened the, the nasal cavity. You open it. You open it. So that the air coming from your lungs goes through and comes out, and the duration of this is going to be 2 beats. 2 beats. And beats are actually determined by the speed of your recitation. It's if some people say 2 seconds, that is not correct. Okay, beats are determined by the speed of your recitations. It may be 1 second, it could be less than a second, it could be a bit more than a second. It depends. If you're reciting fast, it'll be less than. If you're reciting very slow, it will be more than 1 second. It depends. So 1 second or 2 seconds, those are fixed units of length. Okay, fixed length. Okay, a second is a fixed unit of time and fixed length of time. So we don't do that. A beat would be determined by the speed of the recitation. Okay. So what we have effectively ended up doing is nasalizing the letter dha. So you go from ya to noon sakin to dha, and then you go from here. Step number 1, go from ya to dha. While staying at the dha or at or near the dha makhraj, you do the nasal sound. Step number 2, for 2 beats. Okay, while your tongue is at the dha. And look what is happening when you say dha, your back of the tongue is raised up, elevated. There is isti'la and itbaq as well. This isti'la and itbaq is going to make this noon sound, okay, sound rounded, heavy. That's what's going to happen. And then once you've done the 2 beats time length of the nasal sound, then you do the dha with the dhamma. So let's do this together. Ya, and then I'm going to do it in slow motion. Ya, we do a ya and connect with the dha. So I'm just going to do this. Ya, just connecting. I'm not doing dhu yet. Ya, now I'm at the dha makhraj. Ya, while keeping your tongue at the dha makhraj, we're going to do 2 beat worth of nasal sound while keeping the tongue at the dha makhraj. Yang. So yell and then 2 beat nasal sound. Yell. Yell. And then dhamma. Dhu. Yell. Yell. Go to the dha and then 2 beats of nasal sound while staying at the dha makhraj. Yell. Dhu. Yell. Dhu. Yanzu. Yanzu. So make sure that when you're doing the nasal sound, your tongue is at the letter that is after. Majority of the people, when they're learning, because they don't understand this concept, they end up doing the nasal sound with the ya, with the letter before. But you have to realize that The ikhfa has nothing to do with the letter before. The ikhfa is happening because of the letter that comes after the noon sakin or tanween, not before. So therefore we need to go to that letter, take that our tongue from wherever it is to the makhraj of the letter that follows the noon sakin or tanween. Then do the nasal sound for 2 beats while keeping the tongue at the makhraj of that letter, 2 harakat of nasal sound. Then you do the haraka on that letter, which is dhamma in this case. So, yal, dhu, yal, dhu. I'm just basically splitting the 3 stages. Yal, nasal, while keeping the tongue at the dha makhraj, and then doing the dhamma on the dha. Dhu. Yanzu. Now, if I put them all together, I put it all together, then I will be reciting like this. Yanzu. Okay, not yan, not yanzu, not yanzu. No, I gotta go to the. I don't do the nasal sound with the ya. I do the nasal sound with the the. Add the makhraj. Yanzu. And doing that, taking your tongue to the letter that follows the noon sakin or tanween, takes care of the heaviness or the roundedness and the flatness. Automatically, you do not need to worry about it, whether I'm doing the rounding or the flattening correctly or not. Just make sure that what, whatever letter that follows after noon sakin or tanween, okay, you just have to follow its tafkhim or tarqiq. Okay, so now let us go back to our rules. Okay, alhamdulillah, we are back over there. Let me make this big again. Here we go. Okay, so now let us finally read this. So now we know the process. We know the process. We are going to go from ya to dha, then do 2 harakat of nasal sound, then you will do the dha with the dhamma and ra with the dhamma. Let us do it together. Yal, yanzu, yal, yanzu, yanzuru, yanzuru. So I'm not saying yanzuru, yanzuru. No, I'm going from ya to dha. It is taking care automatically of the rounding or the heaviness or the lightness. So as it is being said here, heavy gunna or light gunna, the process I told you, if you follow that, then these 2 things, they get taken care of automatically. So we're going to recite this one now. Yanzuru. We're going to do 2 harakat of nasal sound. Yanzuru, yanzuru. Okay, next one now. What are we going to do? We're going to go from mim makhraj. What is mim makhraj? The 2 lips coming together. Coming together. Mim. And 2 lips coming together and the nasal cavity being open. Open. So we're going from this makhraj, mim, to the ta makhraj. Okay, and ta, the back of the tongue is elevated, and the rest of the tongue has adhesion uh, with the top of the dome, near the dome, it goes towards the palate. So but let's do that. So mim to ta first. Mat. Okay, I'm not going to complete, I'm not going to do a qalqala, but I'm just showing you that I'm going from mim to ta. I'm taking I'm taking my tongue to the ta makhraj. Mim was not a tongue letter, mim was a lip letter. As you can see from here, it's a lip letter, both lips coming together. and nasal cavity being open. So from this configuration, you go to the configuration where the tongue is going to be touching the upper front teeth, and the back of the tongue and the rest of the tongue is raised up. Okay, so we go second step there, and well, at or near, because there are certain letters that you cannot go all the way, otherwise you will end up not doing the ikhfa, meaning you will not end up not doing the you're hiding the noon. Your noon is going to become uh, apparent, like idhar. Basically, you go towards idhar. We don't want that because we want ikhfa. We want to hide the noon. So therefore, there will be certain letters. So if you say ma, yes, you can. You can go to the ta, although it's very close to the noon makhraj, but you can stay away. To go to the makhraj of ta, mat, mat, and while keeping your tongue at the ta, open the nasal cavity and let the air go. So you have basically effectively nasalized. Nasalized ta. You have opened up, while being at the ta makhraj, you have opened up the nasal cavity for 2 beats. 2 beats. Okay. And once we finish the nasal sound of 2 beats, then we do the ta with the fatha. Then we do this fatha on ta. So how are we going to do this now? Mat, mount, mount. As you can notice that my ikhfa, my nasal sound is sounding rounded. I'm not saying man, I'm saying man. But that is happening automatically. I do not have to say, "Oh, I'm going to round it or flatten it." No, it happens automatically. All you need to do is move to the makhraj of the letter that is coming right after the noon sakin or tanween. So all we need to do is mat, manta, 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 and then you do the rest of the letter. Ghain, fatha, and with alif maksura right after. Gha, 2 harakat. Man tagha, man tagha, man tagha. Okay, there we go. Now we did this 2 examples of with noon sakin. Now we will do examples with tanween. So where is tanween in this letter? There is a tanween right here, tanween fathatain. It is at the end, and then you find a tanween right here, and this is also tanween fathatain. And why does tanween is treated the same as a noon sakin? Because the ending sound with the letter of the letter that has the tanween is a noon sound. Okay, that's why it's treated in the same way. What are we going to do? We will follow the same process. So what is the letter that is before the tanween or the nasal sound of tanween? What is that? It's the ba. Ba again is the lips being brought together with the nasal cavity closed up. So this will become ban, ban, but then you have, since we are reciting together in a continuum, so we are going to go from ba to the makhraj of qaf. What is the makhraj of qaf? The back of the tongue. So if this is your tongue here, the tip of the tongue, all the way the back, the tongue down here, and is right in the back is your uvula. that is hanging from the roof of your throat. So the back of the tongue is going to rise and then touch here. This is the makhraj of qaf. Qaf. Um, we can look at it also. Let's look at it. Just go back here, go to the mouth pictures, and no, not that one, this one here. Okay, I'm leaving the writing, and actually I can take it off and then put it back after. Look at this. So qaf makhraj is this here. Let me get a thicker pen. This, oh, this one. This is a qaf makhraj. Back of the tongue touching the uvula. This, if you open your mouth in front of a mirror wide and look inside near your throat, you will find that if you open your mouth like this, okay, your mouth is open, you're looking in the mirror, you will find that from the roof of your mouth there hangs a piece of flesh. This is called uvula. Okay, and if this is your tongue here, okay, it's your tongue here, it needs to be raised up and touch your uvula like this, here. This part here is a sticky part. You have like it's pretty sticky, wet and sticky. So the resulting sound of qaf is a sticky sound. Aqqa, aqqa. Like when you actually do this, pronounce this letter qaf, as if the back of the tongue goes up and touches this area and gets stuck to it, glued to it, and you need to pull it out. Aqqa, like this, as if you're peeling out two pieces of flesh that are stuck together. That's why you get it like a sticky sound. Okay. So now going back to this one, you have the tanween. Okay, you have the tanween. We go from tanween to step number 1, makhraj of the letter that comes after tanween, which is qaf. So you will actually go to that. So the back of the tongue is being raised and touching the uvula that is hanging. You're touching. The back of the tongue is being raised. And we will say ada baq. You're going to the qaf, baq. And then open the nasal cavity. Open the nose, open the nasal cavity. And nasalize qaf. So if you look at, again, the mouth pictures, you can see that the nose is closed. So we came from what was that? What was the word? The word was, yeah, ba, adaban. Okay, so back here, ba to qaf. And once you go to qaf, and actually qaf is one of those letters where you can actually go completely on qaf, and you can go there completely, and then what happened? Yeah, so we open the nose here, we open the nasal cavity, open it. We have effectively nasalized the qaf. So airflow is going to come up and going this way, and it's going to go through the nose. So what are we going to do now? Ba to qaf. Baq. Now, being at the qaf makhraj, nasalize it, leaving your back of the tongue at the qaf. Open the nasal cavity, let air flow for 2 harakat. Baq. Adabaq. And then with the fatha, qa. That's the third step. Adabaq. And then nasal sound, 2 harakat. Adabanqa. Banqa. Baq. Banqa. So your nasal sound is happening when your tongue is sitting on the qaf makhraj. Okay. All right. Now this is okay. Maybe we did that. Adaban qariba. Let's look at the next one. This is where a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. Okay. So I will explain to you where the mistakes are. So now we are going from this word to that word, and you have a qaf again as well, and you have tanween dhammatain. So when you have tanween, um, um, you have the nasal sound there, and you're going from ba to qaf again. This in this one we are going to go like bun. So ba to qaf, book, book. I go to qaf, then I do the 2 harakat nasal sound. Bun qa, bun qa. Okay. Kutubun qayyimah, kutubun qayyimah. So we went from ba to qaf makhraj without doing the haraka here. Just go to the qaf makhraj. Then, while staying on the qaf makhraj, 2 harakat of the nasal sound while the tongue is at the qaf makhraj. Then, after we finish the 2 harakat of nasal sound, we do the fatha on the qaf. Qa. Kutubun qa. Bun qa. Bun qa. Okay, that's how we're gonna do it. Kutubun qayyimatun. Kutubun qayyimatun. Okay, so I think it's pretty detailed. We have only managed to do 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes so far, but my main aim here is to explain the process of doing ikhfa, because this is one of the things that a lot of people find a lot of difficulty in doing proper ikhfa. I mean, as long as you're hiding the noon makhraj and you're nasalizing, uh, you're doing ikhfa, but you are not doing the as it says here, heavy gunna or light gunna. You're not doing it correctly. So the easiest and the correct way is just move to the makhraj of the letter is that comes right after the noon sakin or tanween, which is where the which is basically where the ikhwa is actually happening. Okay, moving on. What does it say? Okay, so the light gunna. So the first one was the rounded gunna or heavy gunna, and as we see that all of the letters, oops, I want to grab something thinner. All of the letters that are appearing right after noon sakin or tanween are rounded. In the first case, dha. In the second case, ta. In the third case, qaf. And in the fourth case, again, qaf. All of them are rounded. Now they're talking about flat letters or muraqqaq letters. Flat muraqqaq. Okay. So let us read first of all the text. If the noon sakin or the tanween is followed by a light letter, the sound of gunna should be light. Again, light or heavy, the easiest way is just move your tongue to the letter, the makhraj of the letter that follows noon sakin or tanween. So let's do the first one here, the first square here. So here is your noon sakin, and the letter. So we look at the letter right after noon sakin. Is it a throat letter? No. Is it a yarmalun letter? No. Is it a ba? No. Then it must be an ikhfa letter. Okay, so sheen is ikhfa letter. How are we going to do it? We move before noon there is a meme. From meme we move to sheen makhraj. We move our in this case the tongue to the sheen makhraj, because sheen is a tongue letter, and we are going from here. Meme is a lip letter, sheen is a tongue letter. So from meme we move to sheen. So how are we going to do this? Step number one will be mash. Okay, but we will not do the fatha yet. Step number two, do the nasal sound for 2 beats. So after you have gone to the sheen makhraj, your tongue is sitting on the sheen makhraj, and mash, and then leave the tongue there, and then do the two haraka nasal sound. Okay, so you are effectively nasalizing sheen. You're nasalizing sheen. So let's look at the sheen makhraj on the mouth pictures. Sheen makhraj will be right here. This is the sheen. So what you're doing effectively, you're nasalizing. You're nasalizing. Your nasal cavity is going to open up, or it's going to open, while your tongue is at the sheen makhraj. So how are we going to do this now? Meme to sheen, mash. Okay, we don't do that much. I'm just exaggerating so that you understand. Mash. We will not do the sheen sound yet, but the tongue is going to be there. While the tongue is there, holding the tongue on the sheen makhraj, we do the nasals. We do the nasal sound of 2 harakat. Okay, 2 harakat, 2 beats. Mash, man, man. My tongue is at the sheen makhraj when I'm doing the nasal sound. Step number one, go to the sheen makhraj. From meme, move to the sheen makhraj. Step number two, whilst holding on the sheen makhraj, your tongue, do the two harakat of nasal sound. May, and then once the 2 harakat nasal sound is finished, we do the fatha sound. Sha. Maisha. 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 So this is what happens. Okay. And then if we do the whole thing, it'll be فَمَن شَاءَ مَن. Okay, let's do the next one here. Okay, where is the noon sign sakin? It's right here. We're going to go from hamza to the al makhraj. Al. Do the 2 harakat of nasal sound. So while we are at the dal makhraj, hamza to dal, al, then holding your tongue at the dal makhraj, hold it there, do the nasalize the dal, and the, hold the tongue there, do the nasal sound first, 2 beats, and the, أنذرناكم أنذرناكم. So you can go completely to the dal makhraj, keep your tongue there, and you will not be touching the noon makhraj. But so noon makhraj will not be touched, but you will open the nasal cavity and do 2 harakat of nasal sound. أنذرناكم. Okay, next one. Okay, so here let me identify the tanween right here. San, and then you have a dal. After tanween, this letter? Is it throat letter? No. Is it Yarmalun letter? No. Is it a ba? No. So therefore, it must be a ikhfa letter. So what do we do? Seen, fathatain, from seen you go to dal. From seen we go to dal. So it will be sad. Rather than saying san, di, you say sad first of all. Go to the dal makhraj. And here you cannot really completely go because you will be touching the noon. So you go close to the dal makhraj. Same thing with the tha. Just close to it and then open the nasal cavity, nasalize the dal. Sandi, sandi, sandi. Waka, sandi, waka, sandihaqa, waka, sandihaqa. Okay, next one. Here's your tanween, kasratain, followed by a letter which is non-throat, non-yarmalun, and non-ba. So it must be a ikhfa letter, which is shin. How are we going to do this? Go from dhal to shin makhraj. Dhal is a tongue letter. Shin is also tongue letter, but shin is a little bit inside. Dhal is towards the outside tip of the tongue, touching the upper front teeth, stuck out slightly. So how are we going to do this? From dhal to shin, this, and then doing 2 beats of nasal sound, 2 beats of nasal sound while holding your tongue at the shin makhraj. This, yawma'idhish, dhin sha'nun, yawma'idhin sha'nun, dhin sha'nun, yawma'idhin sha'nun. There you go. Okay, let's see what else do they say. Okay, now there are actually chart rules of Noon Sakina and Tanween. So they've put everything together here. But before we go into this chart, we will go into the Mus'haf and identify. Let's go and identify the Ikhfa scenarios. Okay, so I'm going to make this page big now, and so that I can get as much of the Mus'haf as possible. So let's start from the beginning of the page that we did. Okay. Okay, so we start from here. أَوَلَا يَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا يُسِرُّونَ وَمَا يُعْلِنُونَ وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا أَمَانِيَّ وَإِنْ هُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ الْكِتَابَ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ ثم يقولون هذا من عند الله. Okay, so now we hit the first one. Where is the Noon Sakin? Here's your Noon Sakin. So a lot of people, they also do like this. Indillah. So what they are doing, they are putting their tip of the tongue at the Noon makhraj, and they are not really doing ikhfa. You find that a lot. Okay, especially among the people of the India and Pakistani subcontinent, that they will stretch the gunna by putting their tongue on the noon, but they will not make ikhfa. So ikhfa tells us, dictates us that we need to take the tongue. We do not take put the tongue on the noon makhraj. We take the tongue and put it from the letter before to the letter after the noon sakin or tanween. We put the tongue there or near it. Then we do the nasal sound of the noon sakin. Not put the tongue at the like if I basically again show you in the mouth picture, the noon here. So if somebody is doing indi, so they are actually doing both. You're doing noon, they're touching the noon. So there is no ikhfa then. Ikhfa is not being done. Ikhfa means you do away with this part of noon, that is touching, the tongue touching. As I said, there are two components of noon: tongue touching the noon makhraj here, and nasal cavity being open. These two, this part and that, these two components. In ikhfa condition, we do not want this. We do not want this. This tongue position is going to be at the makhraj of the letter that comes after. And this is the biggest mistake most people make. Either they end up doing the noon completely, uh, or they do the nasal sound at the letter which is before the noon sakin or tanween, before, not after. Whereas whereas ikhfa has nothing to do with the letter before. It has everything to do with the letter after. Here, ikhfa is happening due to dal, not due to ain. So we need to go from ain to dal makhraj. Don't do the part yet. Just go to the makhraj of dal. But you need to get close to it, not all the way, because dal and ta are letters where if you go all the way, you will end up doing noon, and it will become like idhar, extended idhar, which will be wrong. Ikhfa won't be there because you will be touching the noon. So we want to hide the noon. We want not to touch the noon makhraj. So we go from ain to dal. While sitting or near the dal makhraj, we do the nasal sound of two harakat. Open up the nasal cavity while we are near the dal. Indi, indi, two harakat, two beats. Indi, min indillahi, min indillahi. Continue. لِيَشْتَرُوا بِهِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. You have now tanween. And look at the way the tanween is. See this? You have a tanween, fathatain, but the bottom one is like as if it's slipping away. It's just slipping away. So the other one, the tanween that is used in izhar situations is like an equal sign. Both dashes are equal. But in the case of ikhfa, the bottom one is like slipping away, like this one here. Okay, now what are we going to do? The letter before the tanween. Okay, actually, yeah, letter before, meaning that the sound of the tanween, the ending sound is a noon sound. Okay, nun, because this is thamanan, right? Thamanan. Here's your noon dot here. Thamanan. So noon, from this noon, we are going to go to qaf makhraj. So from this noon here, we will go. Let me just make this here to qaf makhraj. Step number 1, naq, naq. But we don't do the qalqala. We just go to the qaf makhraj. Stay there. Hold on the qaf makhraj, your tongue, and then Do the nasal sound. Open the nasal cavity while your tongue is at qaf makhraj. Naq, nang. Third part, do the fatha on the qaf. Qa, nang qa, nang qa, nang qa. ثمنا ق ثمنا ق ثمنا قليلا ثمنا قليلا. Okay. Okay, let's move on to another one. فويل لهم مما كتبت أيديهم وويل لهم مما يكسبون. وقالوا لن here we go. Noon Saakin followed by a letter. Is it a throat letter? Tha. No. Is it a Yarmalun letter? Tha. No. Is it a ba? No. So it must be a Ikhfa letter. What are we going to do? From Lam, we're going to go to the, or actually in this case, near, because it's a Tha. Tha or Dal is very close to Noon. Go near the Tha makhraj. Hold the tongue there. Open the nasal cavity. Do 2 harakat, nasal sound, while your tongue is near the ta makhraj. And then we do as number 3, step number 3, the fatha ta. Let, lan ta, lan. So we're doing nasal sound while our tongue is at ta, not with the lam, with the ta. Lan ta, let, lan ta. لن تمسنا النار إلا أياما معدودة. So here you have Tanween, but you have a meme. So what do we do here? Is it a throat letter? No. Is it a Yarmalun? Yes. So what are we going to have here? Idgham. Idgham. What type of idgham? Idgham bi gunna. So we will be stretching the nasal sound. Ma'duda. Now if we stop here, fine. If we don't stop here, if you can choose, because the Jim punctuation here tells you that you can, if you want, you can stop, but you can continue as well. So if you are continuing, then again we are going to do Ikhfa. Why? Because you have Tanween followed by a letter, non-throat, non-Yarmalun, non-ba. So therefore it is Ikhfa letter. And what we're going to do? Ma'dudatan qul. Ma'dudatan qul. Let me move this up a little bit. Okay. اتخذتم عند الله. So again we found Noon Sakin. Go from Ain to Dal. Then while at Dal, near Dal, we do the 2 harakat nasal sound. Second step. Third step, we do the Dal with a fatha. Da. عند 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 الله عهدا. What you got? Tanween fathatain, followed by a letter that is non-throat, non-Yarmalun, non-ba. So Ikhfa letter. Fa. We go from Dal to Fa. Daf. Daf. Dan fa. Dan fa. عهدا عهدا فلن يخلف الله عهده أم تقولون على الله ما لا تعلمون بلى من كسب. Okay, you got another one. Noon Sakin followed by a kaf. Kaf is non-throat, non-Yarmalun, non-ba. So we're going to go from meme to kaf. While at kaf, hold the tongue at calf, nasalize it, open the nasal cavity. Step number 2. And sorry, step number 1, go to calf, hold the tongue there. Then number 2, open the nasal cavity and do 2 harakat, nasal sound. And then step number 3, do the fatha on calf. Manka, manka, manka. بلى من كسب سيئة وأحاطت به خطيئته فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون. وإذ أخذنا ميثاق بني إسرائيل لا تعبدون إلا الله وبالوالدين إحسانا وذي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وقولوا للناس حسنا وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة ثم توليتم إلا قليلا منكم. So you have noon sakin followed by a calf. So you go from meme to calf. Step number 1. While holding your tongue at calf, nasalize. Open the nasal cavity. 2 harakat nasal sound. Step number 2. Step number 3. Do the dhamma on the calf. Minkum. Minkum. And again this one here you have noon sakin followed by my letter that is non-throat, non-yarmaloon, non-ba. So we're going to do Ikhfa. Hamza to ta. Go near ta. Makhraj. Hold the tongue there. Open the nasal cavity. Do 2 harakat, nasal sound, while holding near ta. Then step number 3, do the dhamma on the 2. Wa antum. Wa antum. وأنتم معرضون. Okay, here we go. So now today we're going to read 12 and 13, right? So you can read the page because we are now time. Okay, we have 10 minutes left. So let us read this next page, page number 13. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإذ أخذنا ميثاقكم لا تسفكون دماءكم ولا تخرجون أنفسكم من دياركم ولا تخرجون أنفسكم من دياركم ثم أقررتم وأنتم تشهدون. ثم أنتم هؤلاء تقتلون أنفسكم وتخرجون فريقا منكم من ديارهم تظاهرون عليهم بالإثم والعدوان وإن يأتوكم أسارى تفادوهم وهو محرم عليكم إخراجهم أفتؤمنون ببعض الكتاب وتكفرون ببعض فما جزاء من يفعل ذلك منكم إلا خزي في الحياة الدنيا ويوم القيامة يردون إلى أشد العذاب وما الله بغافل عما تعملون. أولئك الذين اشتروا الحياة الدنيا بالآخرة فلا يخفف عنهم العذاب ولا هم ينصرون. ولقد آتينا موسى الكتاب وقفينا من بعده بالرسل وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس أفكلما جاءكم رسول بما لا تهوى أنفسكم استكبرتم ففريقا كذبتم وفريقا تقتلون. وقالوا قلوبنا غلف بل لعنهم الله بكفرهم فقليلا ما يؤمنون. صدق الله العظيم. Okay, so let's quickly, we have about 5 minutes left. Let us identify all of the rules that we have learned of Noon, Saakin and Tanween, starting from here. So let's go. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ لَا تَسْفِكُونَ دِمَاءَكُمْ. I'm going to recite slightly faster. دِمَاءَكُمْ وَلَا تُخْرِجُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ. So what do we have here? We have Ikhafaa. Why? Because there is a Noon Saakin followed by a Fa. Okay, and Fa is non-throat, non-yarmalun, non-ba. So we have Ikhafaa. أنفسكم من Noon sakin followed by a dal. Non-throat, non-yarmanun, non-ba. Therefore, ikhfa. So I'm doing nasal sound. من دياركم ثم أقررتم وأنتم Noon sakin followed by a non-throat, non-yarmanun, non-ba letter. Again ikhfa. وأنتم تشهدون ثم أنتم again noon sakin followed by a ta non-throat non-yarmalun non-ba again ikhfa situation ثم أنتم هؤلاء تقتلون أنفسكم noon sakin followed by again fa non-throat non-yarmalun non-ba ikhfa أنفسكم وتخرجون فريقا منكم following noon sakin or noon sakin followed by a kaf which is non-throat, non-yarmalun, non-ba. Ikhfa is going to be happening here. Minkum min noon sakin followed by a dal, non-throat, non-yarmalun, non-ba. Therefore ikhfa. من ديارهم تظاهرون عليهم بالإثم والعدوان وإن يأتوكم أسارى تفادوهم وهو محرم عليكم. You have Tanween followed by a is it a throat letter? Yeah, it's a throat letter. So, izhar. That's why we said muharramun alaykum without stretching the gunna. Muharramun alaykum ikhrajuhum. أفتؤمنون ببعض الكتاب وتكفرون ببعض فما جزاء من idgham. You have a ya after noon sakin idgham. من يفعل ذلك منكم kaf after noon sakin so ikhfa. منكم إلا خزي fa after tanween ضمتين okay again ikhfa. خزي في الحياة الدنيا and ويوم القيامة يردون إلى أشد العذاب. Read this again. ويوم القيامة يردون إلى أشد العذاب وما الله بغافل عما تعملون. Tanween kasratain followed by a throat letter. So it will be izhar here. We stop here inshallah. Inshallah we will continue biiznillah next week again the same time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our effort inshallah and help us learn the rules of tajweed, apply them and read correctly for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ameen. So we make dua and we finish here. Subhanallahi wa bihamdik. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.